I want you to take that word with you this morning through the whole service from beginning to end, and just allow God. If you are struggling this morning, allow God, allow His Spirit to give you rest this morning. God, we come before you. Holy Spirit, you're the only one that can give us rest. God. We come before you with weary hearts. We come before you, God, with broken hearts. We come before you, God, with our difficulties. We come before you with our anxieties. We come before you, God, with the depression. We come before you with the sickness. We come before you with the anger. We come before you, God, with our struggles. We come before you, Jesus, and we place it at your feet, because that's the only way and that's the only place where we can find rest. So we come before you, Jesus, and we invite your Spirit to come and rest on us this morning. Come and rest on us, Jesus. Come and rest.
Rest on surrounded by so much anxiety, so much sadness, so many questions that we have, that all we have left is like, God, I need to see you. I just need to be in your presence and dwell in your presence. I need your perspective in my life, God. I need to know what it is that you say about me. And when we go and we seek him, when we spend time with him, everything fades away. So I encourage you this morning. I don't know what questions you have for him. I don't know what pain you may feel. But if we can just come and seek him boldly as he asks us, we can rest in him. We say, God, just show me. I want to dwell in your presence. I want to be nowhere else but in your presence, Jesus. And so this song says, show me your face, God. And give me the strength to be in your presence, because I want nothing else but your presence. We just want your presence. We just need you. We just need you. We don't need anything else. We just need you. We just need your presence to make it to the end. We just need your presence to make it to the end. We struggle in life. We find comfort. We try to find comfort in other things that leave us empty in the end. But only your presence, God, only your presence can fill every void. Only your presence can give us true peace. Only your presence can give us true rest. So we are here this morning, resting in your presence. We are here this morning, resting in your presence. Because that is what you left us, your presence. That is what you left us, your presence. So we rest in you. We rest in you. You're worthy of praise. You're worthy. You're worthy of praise. You're worthy of praise, God. Jesus. All the saints and angels bow before your throne. All the elders cast their crowns before the Lamb of God and sing, you're worthy of it all. You're worthy of it all. For from you are all things, and to you are all things. You deserve the glory. All the saints and angels bow before your throne. All the elders bow their crowns before the Lamb of God and sing, you're worthy of it all. Jesus, you're worthy of it all. You're worthy, God. For from you are all things, and to you are all things. You deserve the glory. You're worthy, Jesus. You're worthy of it all. You're worthy of it all. All praise to you, God. For from you are all things, and to you are all things. You deserve the glory. Only you deserve the glory, God. Our worship be an offering before you every single day. May our worship rise up as a beautiful, fragrant offering.
deserve the glory and the praise. You deserve it all. 'Cause you're worthy to be praised. You're worthy to be praised, Jesus. Worthy, worthy.
Good morning, everybody. I hope you're happy. I couldn't hear myself for a second there. Hope you're happy to be here. This is amazing worship. First, seeking God's face. As I listen to that song, I can see myself in situations. Always has something to say that I can take with me and apply it. And there's many words that I've taken from many years ago that she said and that I still hold in my heart. And I think about these things. So without further ado, Daniela, she will have her message for today.
Can go ahead and take your seat. Like JJ said, my name is Daniela. I'm excited to be up here again. For those that don't know me, I am a worship leader here at our church, and I'm also a youth leader here. Thank you, Pastor Danny and Beth, for giving me the opportunity to be here and entrusting me with the privilege to share with you guys the message today. So for the past month here at our church, we have been talking about Wonderfully Complex. Now, the sermon series has been focusing on mental health, and actually we started it in June, and June is known as Men's Mental Health Awareness Month. So in the first week, Pastor Danny spoke about being brave enough to be broken. He talked about that when we're struggling with our mental health, we tend to remain silent, and eventually that silence will kill us. We see this especially in men because they unfortunately have been told that men have to be strong. So they should just keep quiet about what they're struggling with. And Pastor Danny encouraged all of us to be brave enough to seek the help that we need when we are broken and struggling. In the second week, Pastor Danny spoke about how we can overcome our our fears and frustration. Let me read that again. Pastor Danny spoke about how we can overcome our anger and frustration. In Psalm 37, David talked about how that anger that we carry sometimes, we can't control it. And that anger will cause a lot of damage to ourselves and to others. So we should spiritually surrender ourselves to the Lord and clinically seek help professionally that we may need to overcome our anger and frustrations. And now that leads me to today, where I will be speaking on overcoming fear and anxieties. I was going to have a little video, but we were having some technical difficulties in the back. But there's this prank out there where they put a box in front of somebody, and in this video specifically, it was a clear box. And there's a guy that is blindfolded, has headphones on, and the challenge is for him to put his hands inside the box and touch whatever's in there. Now in this video, before the guy even reaches his hand in, he is already freaking out because he has no idea what's in the box, right? It could be a snake, it could be spiders, I don't know. Imagine maybe your worst fear and it's in the box. I wouldn't want to put my hand in it either, right? But in the video, you see that in the box, it's a little stuffed animal. I don't know if it's like a raccoon or something, but the guy reaches his hand and he barely touches it and he's panicking, he's freaking out. So the idea behind this video is that a lot of the times we do that to ourselves because something's so new, something so unknown that we overthink it and we come up with these scenarios and we become fearful and we become. Today we're going to look at the differences between fear and anxiety because a lot of the times we tend to lump them up into one when they are two very different things. Fear is an unpleasant, often strong emotion caused by anticipation or awareness of danger. Anxiety is an abnormal and overwhelming sense of apprehension and fear. Now, fear physically sees the threat and it screams, "Get out," right? Don't put your hand in that box. Don't touch it because you don't know what's in there. It's a response to real danger. And now anxiety imagines a threat and asks, what if? What if it's a spider? What if it's a snake? What if un alacrán, a scorpion? What if? It involves worry about a perceived threat that has not yet, or maybe it's never going to happen. And a lot of the times, this looks like overthinking. The guy in the video felt the box and was immediately afraid. Once he barely touches the object, you can see his anxiety go through the roof because he was probably imagining a million different scenarios. We can see that he was overthinking. Well, the video is there, but we can imagine how he was overthinking to the point where he panicked. I think it's safe to say that we might have all been in this place before where we feel overwhelmed, where we imagine these threats, we imagine this danger, we imagine our worst fear coming to light, and those threats and scenarios take us over the edge. Now, research shows that about 20.5% of kids ages from 3 to 17 worldwide struggle with anxiety. 23.4% of women worldwide struggle with anxiety. And about 14.3% of men worldwide struggle with anxiety. Now, these numbers represent those that have been open enough to say, "Hey, I'm struggling." Can you imagine how many people have not spoken up and they're struggling silently? I can only imagine how many more people are out there that are trying to hold it together when in reality they're falling apart. And to be honest, a lot of the times men tend to be those that are more quiet about it. And now in men, the number one fear that they experience is the fear of failure. Failure in so many different things. Failure of being a good husband, of being a good father, of being a good man, of being, maybe the provider for your family. They have a fear of starting a new business because they're afraid that they're going to fail. And it can look like failure of not living up to the expectations that have been placed on you by maybe your father or those that are around you. So today we're going to look at how we can overcome these fears and these anxieties. Today's main verse is from Psalm 23. And now Psalm 23 was written by David while he was still a shepherd. This was right before he became the king of Israel. And in this psalm, David is comparing how God, or is describing how a shepherd is to his flock, is to how God is to his children. He describes how God cares for us, like a shepherd cares for his flock. He describes how God protects us like a shepherd protects his flock, and how God blesses us like how a shepherd blesses his flock. Psalm 23:4 says, "Even though I walk through the darkest valley, I will fear no evil, for you, God, you are with me. Your rod and your staff, they comfort me." In this verse, David is having a conversation with God. He's telling him, even though I'm going to go through this dark moment, even though I'm in the middle of it, God, I know that you are with me. I know that you are walking right there with me. And he's walking right there with you guys today, wherever you find yourself, if it's in the lowest of lows or in the highest of highs. He has remained there by your side. So we should not be afraid because he is with us. It mentions his rod and his staff. By rod, it means that he protects us. He keeps us safe. And it mentions his staff, which means that he guides us. He keeps us along the right path. So I hope we can find comfort today knowing that God is protecting us and that he is guiding us through the darkness. He walks before us, behind us, beside us, and all around us. Always. Today we're going to look specifically at Jesus' time here on earth. The time that he spent in the Garden of Gethsemane. We're going to look at how he handled fear and anxiety because he too suffered from them. Just because he was Jesus didn't mean that he was, he wasn't going to feel those things. So what did Jesus do when he was feeling afraid and anxious? Jesus casted them onto God. He casted his fears and anxieties onto God. Luke 22:39-41 says, Jesus left and made his way to the Mount of Olives, as was his custom, and the disciples followed him. When he arrived, he said to them, "Pray that you won't give into temptation." He withdrew from them about a stone's throw. He knelt down and he prayed. Here Jesus took the time to separate himself, to spend time with God. As the verse said, it was his custom. He made it a habit to seek God in prayer always, no matter the circumstance, no matter what he was facing, no matter what he was feeling. It's one thing to say or to seek God when everything's going right? It's easy to be like, yes, God, thank you because, you're blessing me, you're blessing my life. It's another thing to seek God when things aren't going your way. It's not easy when you're feeling all these anxieties and fears and frustrations. We like to think that we're strong enough to go through life on our own, to go through these hard, lonely, anxious times on our own, and we forget about God. Or we intentionally don't go to him because we feel like we need to have it all together before we can come to him, as if we're not worthy enough to come to him, to ask him for his help. A lot of the times it's hard because it's hard to sometimes fully trust God when we feel like everything is coming against us. Why can't anything go right for me? It's always something. We almost start to resent God. And a lot of times we're just trying to make it through to another day. God, just let me get through it tomorrow because today I'm done. I've had it. And a lot of the times we don't always allow ourselves to feel the anxieties and the fears because we don't like how they make us feel. I don't like how they make me feel, especially when it starts to creep in. The number one thing is put in the back of my mind, I suppress it because I don't want to think about it, because I don't want to feel it. But that doesn't make them go away. And what happens when we suppress too much and push it to the side, put it in the back of your mind? Eventually, when that builds, it explodes. We explode. And then this place becomes such a vulnerable place where we're desperately trying now to find something to hold on to, something to make us feel better, something that's going to ground us again. So with all of that, that's why God encourages us to come to him. 1 Peter 5:7 says, cast all your cares, all your anxieties, all of your worries, all of your concerns, once and for all, on him, for he cares about you with deepest affection, and he watches over you very carefully. This verse says, cast all your cares. The definition of cast means to set down, to give away, to throw, to hurl, or to pitch. And when I think of the word, or when I hear the word cast, I think of fishermen casting these massive nets into the ocean to catch fish. And I imagine them throwing them with all of this strength that they have. They're not just like, okay, let's see if I catch anything. No, they throw it with so much intention, with so much almost desperation to catch something. Because there's probably a lot at stake for them, right? Maybe they got a family they need to feed. They're the ones that are providing for their family financially. So like I said, they cast these nets with so much desperation. God welcomes us to approach him in this way too. He encourages us to come to him, to cast our anxieties, to cast our worries, to cast our concerns onto him. Don't allow those lies to enter your mind that say, God doesn't care about my anxiety. He doesn't care what I'm feeling. He doesn't care about my worries. He doesn't care about what keeps me up at night. He does. The verse said he cares about you. Deeply, truly cares about you with affection. And not only does he care about you, but he watches over you very carefully. He sees and understands what you're going through. He understands when your mind starts to race 1,000,000 miles per minute. He wants you to know today that he sees you and that he is right here waiting to comfort you when you're in the middle of it. He reminds us that we are not alone in this life. It says he not only watches you and cares about you, but he listens to you. Psalm 34:6 says, in my desperation I prayed, and the Lord listened. He saved me from all of my troubles. God listened to Jesus' prayers, and he's going to listen to yours too. He will also save you from your troubles. Trust him enough today to cast your cares onto him. Trust in who he is and who he says that you are. Like I mentioned a bit ago, the number one fear in men is the fear of failure. This fear almost becomes a part of their identity because maybe they've lost a little bit of who they are. And they don't realize that your failures do not make you. Failure is an event, not a person. It's just a moment of your life. So don't let it become a part of your identity if you have failed. Men, you are children of God that were created in his image, who happen to be in a fallen world where not everything will be perfect all of the time. So please give yourself some grace today. Trust our God who says that you are enough, and trust in who he is. He is enough for us. I also believe that God surrounds us with certain people that we can trust that are going to help us through our journey in life. And that leads me to my second point. God did this with Jesus. Jesus sought help from those that he trusted. When he faced the most difficult time in his life, Jesus didn't isolate himself completely from everyone to battle it on his own. He remained connected to God, and he remained connected to those that he trusted, his disciples, his best friends. So when Jesus went to the Garden of Gethsemane, he wasn't alone either. Mark 14:32 says, then they went to a place called Gethsemane, And Jesus said to his disciples, "Sit down here until I have prayed." He took Peter, James, and John with him, and he began to be deeply distressed and troubled, extremely anguished at the prospect of what was to come. And he said to them, "My soul is deeply grieved and overwhelmed with sorrow to the point of death. Remain here and keep watch." In these verses it says, Jesus took Peter, James, and John with him. He was honest with them and he was vulnerable with them. He shared with them that he was feeling overwhelmed with sorrow. He told them that he felt like he was going to die because of this weight that was on his shoulders. So he asked him to be there by his side, to keep watch while he went to go pray. All he did was ask them for their support. He didn't ask for their opinion on what should I do? What do you think? He simply asked them to be there for him. A lot of the times when we're trying to be there for people, we think, oh, this is my time to tell them my advice, to tell them how they need to deal with it because I know what's best for them. Or we think it means that we need to tell them what they're doing wrong and what they need to do instead. When maybe sometimes all they need is for us to be there, to be present, to sit with them, to listen to them, to pray with them, to cry with them, to hurt with them. And that's what Jesus asked of Peter, James, and John. He demonstrated that it was okay not to be okay. He also had to be honest with himself to say, I'm struggling and I need help. So I'm going to call my boys and tell them, I need you guys to support me, to be there for me. Because he knew that he couldn't handle this weight all on his own. And we're not meant to handle and to deal with life struggles all on our own. A little bit about me. My husband and I, we've been married for a little over 5 years. We've been together 13 years now. We started dating when I was 16, he was 18. So we have pretty much grown together to where we now are. 13 years is a long time. But we've been together through some really tough moments, some really low moments. And he has become my person that I know I can go to, that I can trust when I'm struggling. He's my best friend. So why wouldn't I almost take advantage of that, right? To say, hey, I need you to cry with me. I need you to pray with me. I also have, a few close friends and family that I know I can call on. I know that I can go to when I need help. So take, time to think, who are the ones that I can really go to when I'm struggling? Who are the ones that are going to give me godly advice, not just something you want to hear? Make sure that you're open with someone. If it's not someone that you know, maybe seek help professionally. But please don't struggle quietly anymore. When you go to those that are around you, you will find relief and comfort and hopefully some peace. There are also tools that we can use when we're feeling anxious. Take a time out if we need to clear your mind, or if you just need to feel all the feelings and cry it out or let it out. Breathe. Sometimes just taking a breath helps. Life can get crazy. Trust me. I have a little one, and we're also expecting another baby boy. So it is very busy, and I have moments where I forget to breathe. And by the end of the day, I'm like I can't breathe because there's just so much going on. Take the time to breathe, to clear your mind, to clear your heart. So Jesus overcame his fears and anxieties. Number 1, by casting them and surrendering them to God. Number 2, by seeking help from those he trusted. And number 3, Jesus focused on the what over the why. In Luke 22, we read a little more about, Jesus in the Garden of Gethsemane. This was right before he was going to be beaten, crucified, and killed. He was already suffering with all this fear and anxiety, and he knew the suffering that he was about to go through physically. Luke 22:42 says, "Father, if you are willing, take this cup from me." And in the same breath, "Yet not my will, but yours be done." An angel from heaven appeared to him and strengthened him. And being in anguish, he prayed more earnestly, and his sweat was like drops of blood falling to the ground. In these verses, Jesus is pleading with God to help him. God, take away this suffering that I'm feeling and the suffering that I'm about to go through. He said, take this cup from me. And here the cup is symbolic for suffering. He was suffering severe anxiety. It wasn't just his heart racing and his mind racing, but it was visibly seen on his body. It wasn't just a figure of speech. Oh yeah, his sweat was like drops of blood. He was literally sweating blood through his pores. And this is a real thing. It's a rare phenomenon called hematohidrosis. Physicians have noted that it is caused most frequently by acute fear and intense mental contemplation. It occurs when anxiety becomes so severe that it activates the sympathetic nervous system to hemorrhage the vessels of the sweat glands. So because Jesus was so anxious, so afraid, stressed out, he was literally sweating blood. Jesus was asking God, why do I have to go through this? Why does this have to be my cup? Why can't it be one of the other guys? Why does it have to be me that's going to die on the cross? Why can't there be another way? I'm sure he was filled with a million whys, as we are sometimes when we're going through something hard. But the thing is, though, these whys, a lot of the times, they leave us empty-handed because we won't always get the answer that we're looking for. Sometimes we won't always get an answer. So we get stuck and we feel frustrated and lost. And we don't find peace when we're looking for the why. So God wants you to start asking what this morning. Okay, God, what is the purpose of my suffering? What are you trying to show me? What are you trying to teach me through my anxiety? In that verse 42, it said, "Yet not my will, but yours be done." Here Jesus came, he came to terms with the fact that God had a purpose for what he was going through. He had a plan. There was a reasoning behind what he was going through. So when Jesus stepped into that what, he found his purpose and he started to find peace. And today we know what that purpose was. Jesus died on that cross to save us, to redeem us, so that we could live freely and boldly in him. And we have an eternity to look forward to because of what he did on that cross for us. Jesus focused on what the purpose was of his suffering. He knew that it was greater than him. He might not have seen the whole picture while he was in the middle of it, but he trusted God enough to say, okay, God, I'm sticking through because I know you're going to do something. There's an author named K.J. Ramsey who wrote a book called "The Lord is my courage." And in it she wrote, "A Jesus who felt such fear is a Jesus who was able to meet me in mine." A Jesus who felt such fear is a Jesus who was able to meet me in mine. Christ finds us in our fear because he has gone there already. We have a God who understands us and who understands our weaknesses. Hebrews 4:15 says, "For we do not have a high priest who is unable to empathize with our weaknesses, but we have one who has been tempted in every way, just as we are, yet he did not sin." We have a God who can empathize with us, one that encourages us and helps us, and it's coming from a place of, I've been there, so I know what you're struggling with. Going back real quick to the fear of failure, something that happened to me a few months ago, it was in the middle of winter, and I experienced my first anxiety attack. So like I shared, my husband and I, we have our son. At the time, he was about a little over a year, and right in the middle of so many changes, sleep regression, developmental changes, so many milestones, and that's a lot on their little bodies. So I remember waking up and I was like, oh, I just knew it was going to be one of those days, that everything was going to feel out of my control, that everything was going to go wrong, that it was just one of those days. I don't know if anybody else has had those before. So throughout this day, I was just feeling like waves of, you're not a good enough mom. You're a crappy wife. You call yourself a Christian? Look at you. You're failing. You're a failure. And something about me is that I struggled, and sometimes still struggle, to be a perfectionist, to feel like I have it all together, to put on that I have it all together, just because, I don't know, just because that's just kind of been in my mind. So these waves and these lies that were coming into my mind, man, was I suppressing it because I didn't want to deal with it. I didn't want to confront it. So by the end of the day, we're putting our son down for bed, and we have our little bedtime routine where I give him his bottle, we'll sing together, we'll worship together, we'll pray together. And I don't even remember what it was, but just as I was sitting down to give him his bottle, something just took me over the edge, and I was done. I felt so bad, and I gave him to my husband. It was just like, here, you deal with it. You take care of it. You put him down for bed. I'm done. And I remember going into our bedroom, sitting on our bed, and I could just feel tears streaming down my face. Nothing was coming out of my mouth. I didn't understand what was going on. And I was just sitting there staring at the wall, trying to make sense of what this was. And in that moment, I could hear God tell me, you're okay. I've got you. You're gonna be okay. And when I heard that, I cried even more because I could feel it as he was telling me that, this weight just start to lift off my shoulders. I could feel him in the room with me. And I could feel a sense of peace starting to come over me. And once I was able to kind of, breathe and get through that, I went back to my son's room where my husband, was still in there. And I was like, give me my baby. Because I felt that mom guilt came in, and I felt so bad the way I had walked out of that room. But I walked in differently. And as I was holding my son and as we were singing to him, I remember hearing God again. He told me, I got you. He told me, you are more than enough. You are exactly who I want you to be, and you are exactly where I need you to be. He allowed me to get to that place because he needed to show me that he was the one that was in control, not me. He needed to show me that I was focusing on myself more than on him. I lost focus of who he was and who he is for me and who I am in him. He needed me to let go of this fear of feeling good enough or being good enough so that I could believe that he already created me to be enough in him. And he wants you to know today that you are enough in his eyes and you will always be more than enough for him. Maybe today you felt like a failure because maybe you haven't been able to provide for your family. And you're trying to figure out, why can't I? Instead of asking why, ask God, what is he trying to teach you? Maybe you feel like a failure because, you haven't been able to live up to the expectations put on you by others. Give yourself grace and just try to focus on what God wants to show you or teach you. Maybe the purpose of your fears and anxieties are for you to be open and honest about them. Men, I'm talking to you for a minute here. You've probably been told or shown that you're a man, you have to be strong. Men don't cry, right? We've heard that before. Men don't cry. So don't have any feelings. Don't be afraid. Hold it all together because you have to be the man. And you felt that if you are showing that you are hurting or that you're anxious, that your masculinity is going to be revoked, terminated, taken away. But that's not true. Look at Jesus. With so much he was carrying and so much he was struggling with, he was open and honest about his feelings, his emotions, his fears and anxieties. So I want to encourage you today to cast your worries, doubts, fears, and anxieties on God. If you feel like your anxieties are too much to bear on your own, please seek help. Try to surround yourself, with those people that you can lean on. And lastly, try to focus on the what over the why. Have an honest conversation with God. Ask him, what is he trying to show you through your anxiety? What is he trying to teach you? Try to sit in the peace of knowing that he is for you and not against you. As we close, I'm going to ask if we can stand real quick. And I'm going to share one last verse with you all. Vedla actually mentioned it at the beginning. Matthew 11:28. It says, "Come to me, all you who are struggling hard and carrying heavy loads, and I will give you rest." Come to me, all of you who are struggling and carrying heavy loads, and I will give you rest. I hope you can receive this invitation from God this morning. Maybe you're wondering, what is he inviting me to exactly? He's inviting you to himself, not just a moment here right now. That's going to be over soon. That's just only for Sundays. But he is inviting you to himself every single day. And in him, we can find peace in the middle of our chaos. Finding rest and peace is not just a moment, but it is a person. God is our Prince of Peace. So he asks you, come to me. If you are struggling, come to me. If you are hurting, come to me. If you've lost hope, come to me. If you are tired and exhausted, come to me. If you are anxious and fearful, come to me. God, we come to you this morning. God, we can't with this load that we have been trying to carry all on our own. We can't do it anymore. We ask, God, that you come cover us, that you come surround us. When we feel anxious and when we feel afraid, may you remind us who you are and who we are in you. God, we choose today to trust you. We choose today to lay everything at your feet. God, help us to find rest, because some of us have been trying to just make it day by day, just trying to get to another day. God, help us to stop and breathe in your peace, breathe in your love, and breathe in your joy. God, we know and we believe that you are with us always. We lay our burdens before you, God. God, we thank you for being a God who understands us, for being a God that empathizes with us and knows what we are struggling with. So who better to go to than a God who understands us? God, we love you and we thank you because we know that you will always be there through the darkest of valleys. From the valley to the mountaintop, you are right there surrounding us. Thank you for being a God that loves us and that cares for us. We love you, Jesus. We love you, God. Amen. I hope you can take something from today's message. Even if it's just, come to me. That's all he asks. Come to me. You can go ahead and take your seat. I'm just going to give you guys a couple of announcements. For the summer season, we are doing Taco Tuesday. I'm sure you guys have heard about it. All of our volunteers meet at 5:30 at the parking lot across the street from Gail Borden on Kimball. And we are still looking for donations. I believe, no, they're not. But, we're looking for donations, specifically men's clothing, small toiletries that we can give, to those that are in need. And serving will be from 6 to 7 p.m. Also, our youth is every Thursday. Our youth is every Thursday at 6:30. And this summer, we're doing something different to switch it up for our middle schoolers and high schoolers. We're doing Backyard Our Youth Night. So make sure to follow us on Instagram so you can see where we're going to be at for the day. I pray that God will be with you guys throughout the week, that he will give you his peace in the moment when you need it the most. And I pray that you guys have a blessed week. God bless you guys.